is this the nature of the beast when people, when you've been in the game for so long and you have a taste, you actually have a taste and you have experience and you have an expertise, you are going to get that kind of the mass sort of the, the bulk of it is all there, and it is whatever you want to say, like not necessarily the quality, but they are just copying trends or whatever it is they're doing. um yeah, it's a hard one, and it really comes back to them in terms of, if we're trying to link this back to branding, it's getting clear on what your why is. So what is the mission? Like what is the mission for you as a specific photographer, and any photographer who's starting? And then focus your brand around that, and you have a unique mission. So maybe your mission at the moment is more of an educational mission, and you are speaking specifically to photographers who feel the same kind of pain, and that's great. That's what the mission is. So in terms of linking it back to branding, it's hard to kind of speak in general terms. We can speak in general terms, but yeah, getting clear on you as a brand, as a person, your why initially, why 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 are you doing this, your where, then you can kind of start making decisions from there.
What's your brand?
What's my brand? My brand is genuinely to, I believe that if we're all here sharing our gifts, and we know what our gifts are, and we know what our gifts are, and we can share them, the world becomes a beautiful orchestral musical. And I'm all for it, man. I fully believe. So maybe you know the prayer of Saint Francis. So the opening line of the prayer of Saint Francis is, "Make me an instrument of thy peace. Make me an instrument of thy peace." And I really believe that everyone is an instrument. Like whatever we got going on here, this thing, it is an instrument. But most of us we're not playing the right part. Our instrument is a guitar, but we're playing the piano part. And this is what most people do. This is what society does to us. It programs us to behave, to act in a certain way. So my brand really is, I want people to know what instrument they are, what their genius is, and then I want them to be unashamedly proud to just make beautiful music, and whatever form or expression that takes. And I believe it's my job, like, to encourage people, and say, hey, that is possible. You can do it. And it's gonna. There's this beautiful thing I like to think about, that in terms of, if we're all instruments, that when we start playing and being that instrument, and we start expressing our genius and doing that on a daily basis, we start to act in harmony with everything around us. Everything around us becomes harmonious and supports us as well. Our dreams or our goals, whatever, they just all start falling into place. And it can sound quite, hey, out there, that sounds good, man. But from experience and from my own life, I can definitely say that when you act from that place of unique genius, whatever that is to you, magical things happen. Magical things in the world around you conspires to help you. So really, that's my brand, is like that divine spark, whatever that thing, whatever that genius is inside of you. I want you to go for that, and I want you to do it, and I want you to be unashamed about it. And hey, if I can help you in any way communicate that, then that's my job.
Education is clearly, in your history as a secondary school teacher, and you've taken it into what you do now. I've always been interested in the word should. And I feel like we're all too quick these days to say, oh, you should do that, and you should do that. Does that ever kind of, do you think about that in your vocabulary, and how does that kind of go into your teaching mechanisms?
Yeah. So interesting. Should is an interesting word that we say to ourselves, I guess. So it's like, I should have done this. Should I? Okay. Should I? Yeah, it's an interesting one, man, because if we say should, we are introducing a lot of doubt into our actions. If we're constantly looking back and saying, oh, I should do this, or I should have done that, or the underlying kind of emotion there is a feeling of doubt. There's no confidence. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I do agree that it's not a word that should be, it has its uses, whatever. But yeah, it can introduce a lot of doubt into your life if you're constantly saying, I should have done this or I should do this. You're either saying, I'm doubtful or I'm not good enough for what I am currently doing. And yeah, maybe you could have done other things in the past that would have produced different results. But there's this nice idea I like to think about, that now is new. Now is new. You are under no obligation in this moment right now to be defined by your past. You're really not. We will continue to do it. We will continue to allow the momentum of our past to define us, but you're under no obligation to. And yes, there might be things that you've done that are going to give you responsibilities, but in terms of who you actually are and in this present moment, that's totally up to you right now. And the shoulds come from our past. I am this person, therefore I should act like this. This person thinks X, Y, and Z about me, therefore I should act like this. So the way I like to kind of comprehend or think about what you just said there is that idea of now is new. You are under no obligation to be the person you were, and that idea of should, that is going to hold you back, because that's just going to bring a bunch of fear and a bunch of doubt into all of your actions in the present moment, and that's not going to produce very good
You must
results.
work with clients though, where you thinking, oh, you know, this guy really needs to, or this guy really should do this. If that's going through your brain, how do you communicate those messages to your clients? You know, what's the language that is effective?
Yeah, so it's my job to unpack that. If I think that, hey, it would be great and beneficial for your brand if the way you were communicating or producing X, Y, and Z, there's two ways to think about this. So first of all, if I've said, hey, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z, and they're not doing it, then okay, yeah, they should be doing it, and they're not. But in terms of actually how they show up to whatever it is they're doing, to their brand, to their content, how they how they actually show up, it's my job. If I think they should be doing it a certain way, it's my job to unpack why they are doing it the way they are at the moment, and then work on that. So for example, one of the examples I give to kind of illustrate this is why I say it all comes back to inner work. And it's a really interesting thing as I've kind of gone down this path, is like the branding. It's actually all just, it's the really like kind of like a spiritual experience for people, and for myself as well, because it's the whole job is to get really, if you want to do it the right way, you have to get really clear on who you are and what you stand for. And those are some deep questions. So my whole thing there is, if I think, hey, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, it's to unpack why you're not doing that. And usually, again, it comes from heavier emotions like fear and doubt. That's why we're not showing up in a certain way for our content in the moment, or how we're communicating. And it's to unpack that. And maybe there's so a belief that some people have is that they don't have many friends, let's say. So let's say that they think that people don't like them. That could be a belief that people have. So if you have that belief, you're showing up to a moment in a certain way that is going to perpetuate that belief. So we need to kind of dig deep and understand why you have that belief, and we actually need to work on that. And then if we can change or adjust that belief, that's when we can let go of something. Then the way I like to illustrate this is, let's say you've got a problem at the moment, and I think you could be showing up much more authentically, whatever it is, in your content, but there's something you're holding on to. The exercise that I'll do with people is, I'll be like, look, there's something that's kind of holding you back being fully yourself and really showing up right now. What is it? And they might say that they're kind of like struggling with something. For example, something's happened, someone's treating them a certain way. And what we do is we get them to like really feel it, like really feel that emotion of everything around that thing that's happened. Why is it pissing them off? And like go into that, everything around that thing right now in your life that is pissing you off, get into it, and you start to see like people do all of this. And then the way I illustrate it is that, hey, this is this kind of you that's like got all of this weird emotion going on. That's what's showing up at the moment. We need to get rid of that. We need to let that go. So this is what I mean when it's working with people, and that's why I like to work with people over a longer period of time, because it's a real inner shift that we're making. It's so yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense. But that's kind of like how I like to illustrate it, is that those things you're holding on to at the moment, those are showing up in your actions and how you're showing up to the moment, and they're going to continue to be there.